Hey everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. My name's Christian, and today we are continuing on in our Adobe Premiere series and talking about tools and shortcuts. So in our last video, we talked about an introduction and got a feel for all our panels within Premiere and how things are set up. And we're gonna do a video on workspaces later so you can create an effective workspace for your setup and for your workflow. But today we're talking about tools, and that's in the panel right down here. It's a very important panel and allows you to deal with everything that's on your timeline. So let's get into it. First, we have the selection tool, and that comes with the keyboard shortcut V. Now, the selection tool is very common in pretty much all Adobe programs, in InDesign, Illustrator, After Effects, and it's going to allow you to select content, media, anything, pictures, photos, videos, and it's going to allow you to move that within your timeline, or in other programs, move that on your canvas or workspace. So it's really handy for if we zoom out here. And to zoom out, guys, I'm just pressing the Option key on my Mac and using the scroll wheel to zoom out. The other way you could do this is press the plus and minus signs to actually extend the timeline, and it does it in increments, not as specific as if you use your scroll wheel. But that can be a helpful tool when you're creating content and creating your large timeline. And so with the selection tool, I can move this clip, which has audio and video, down the timeline and rearrange it in such a way for how I need it. So really helpful. Another helpful tip is if I go over here and press Option and scroll on the actual video and audio side of the timeline, I can expand these windows so I can see my clips, I can see audio bigger. That's really helpful for when I'm making cuts on audio, so I can see right when the person's ends their statements or things like that. But and that's going to open up these bars. So the bottom one is audio, so this is audio level, and you can see the dB meter pop up there, which is really handy. And the other one is opacity for this clip, and those can actually be changed here on our FX box here. If you right click on that, you can apply or make the line stand for some of these parameters that can be found in effects controls. If you don't have your effects controls panel up, you can go into window and activate that right here, or press Shift 5. Same for audio. We've got a couple different controls. We got level by default, and then we can actually do some pan or the specific channel volume. Because it's a stereo track, I've got two options for left and right. So that's the selection tool. Allows you to manipulate things on your timeline. The next tool I want to cover, I'm going to skip down here, is the razor tool. And that's basically your cut tool. So your keyboard shortcut for that is C. So think of cut is my C tool. So I can create a cut here on my clip, and I can now have two clips to manipulate, and I can move around the timeline, or I can go and reorder these if I want. I can stick this one at the bottom. And the cut tool is really helpful for actually just creating cuts, ending things when you want, and then allows you to go back to your selection tool and reorder. So with the cut tool, I've got two clips now. I'm gonna go up here to my A tool, and this is the track select forward tool. This tool is really important because say I create a bunch of cuts on these clips. The track select forward tool is actually going to help me rearrange. Say I want to take clip 3 and put it where clip 2 is, but it's a lot of work to come down here and individually move these down so that I can do this, and then I have to select all these and move that so that clip 3 can be where clip 2 was. I'm going to undo this and show you an easy way to do this. I can press A, which is our track select forward, and I'm going to select the clip 2, which I want to be further down the timeline, and I'm going to move it down. And then what I'm going to do is go back to the selection tool, and I can move this clip in. So really, the track select forward tool, it will basically select all the clips after the clip you choose. So no matter what clip I choose, it'll select all the successive clips, and it'll allow me to grab them, almost group them in a way, and then move them down the timeline, or move them up the timeline if I want to move my cut somewhere and use my track select forward tool to make sure that there's no gaps or black spaces in my timeline. So that's really a convenient tool for moving clips around. Secondly, or after that, is the ripple edit tool. And ripple edit's really cool because it can actually allow you to increase the size of a clip or the length of a clip without crossing over the following clip. So right here, what I'm showing you is that I'm taking the cut here. Now this clip is all one, but say I might want to go back to this section again, and I want to increase the length of this clip, but then I want the start of this next clip to still stay the same, and I don't want it to overlap, because if I undid that and used my selection tool, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm dragging right here, and I can't do it because it sees there's a clip there. But if I want to increase the length of this clip, I can press B and use my ripple edit tool to increase the length of that clip. And it's going to push all the successive clips to that endpoint of that clip. So now we'll see a little repeat in the playback.
The stapler, 25 seconds. The stapler, 25 seconds.
Because it's a duplicate clip. But that's really nice in the same way that track select allows you to move things down the timeline so that you could reorder it in that way. The ripple edit actually takes away that step, because with track select activated, I could do this and I could and go back to my selection tool and increase this. But actually ripple edit, the ripple edit tool, when I press B, allowed me just to increase the length of that clip with one keystroke and one drag of the clip. So really convenient. If we actually click down into the ripple edit tool, we're going to see the rolling edit tool. And that's really convenient for cuts. So if I want to adjust where the cut happened in this clip, maybe I'm increasing the scale of the second clip, and I'm going to do that in my effects control. And it's going to zoom in on the screen. So maybe I want to adjust where it zooms in on the screen, and I don't want it to be there, and I want it to be at right when it switches from 1 to the stapler in 25. So what I can do is I can go over here to my rolling edit, or press N for shortcut, go over to my timeline, grab the cut, and move that to right where the playhead switches, which is right where my playhead is. So then
Make the image right there.
it goes right to the stapler, and the cut is moved down the timeline, and again, there's no gaps in your timeline, which is really important and speeds up the workflow a lot when you're working through things. The final one is the rate stretch tool, and that's really important for when you want to speed up clips. So if I press R on my keyboard, I can actually go to the end of a clip, and you'll see a little squiggly line with the end frame, and then you can actually adjust the speed of this clip, and it'll show you actually a percentage adjustment. So this clip normally is 100%. Now it's 137% in the speed. So you'll hear an audio change there. Because when you shorten the length of a clip, it actually is shortening the audio as well, which is raising the pitch of the audio. So another thing with that is if you press Command R, you can actually open your clip speed duration if you want to do anything like reversing a clip or adjusting the speed manually to get a more precise. Maybe we wanted 150. That would be the same as actually going and pressing R instead of Command R and going and trying to get it as close to 150 as possible. So that's all in this one little tab. So really powerful ripple edit tool, rolling edit tool, and rate stretch tool. Skipping over cut, because we talked about it, is our slip tool. And the slip tool is really important when you have a clip and you like the length of this clip. And say I've got that marker there, which is really handy for this example, but I've got that marker there, and I actually want that marker. That marker is a start point for me, and I want that marker to be at this cut. So I'm going to go over here to my slip tool, press Y, and I'm going to select over that marker. And if you see above the timeline here, I'm getting that little white line. And if I move that white line, that's going to be an indicator of where I grabbed and where this is going to move to. So I'm going to move that all the way to the front of the clip. And there we can see that the marker, when I let go, is at the front of the clip now. So nothing changed as far as the length of this clip, but I have essentially moved the clip in, or my cut of the clip down the timeline without adjusting the actual without adjusting the actual clip length. So it's kind of like, think of it like this. The clip length is static, and I'm just moving where the in and out point of the clip in my timeline. So again, when we actually look at our preview monitor here, and I've got my start frame, which is on, or the in frame, which is on the right-hand side here, or left-hand side, and then I've got my end frame on the left-hand side. And it actually shows me a little preview, and this would be more apparent if I didn't use the same clip for everything, but we've got our preview of, this is actually this clip right here. When I'm in here, this clip is actually this prior clip, and this clip is the following clip. So really easy, you can see your out point of the prior clip, your in point of the current clip you're going to slip edit, your out point of the current clip, and then the following clip in point. So hopefully that made sense. A lot of ins and outs, but just allows you to see how your cuts are happening on your timeline. The next one is the pen tool, and that's for creating masks. So you could select the pen tool, and maybe I wanted to get rid of this screen. I'm going to actually draw a mask on here, a shape. And I can actually draw a shape like this and color it something. So really easy and convenient with that. If you want it to be a mask, you could actually go into the clip level. So that actually just created a graphic, not a mask, my apologies. If you wanted to create a mask of this image, you'd actually use the pen tool here for your free draw, Bezier in opacity, and you could actually say, I want to cut out this screen from this clip. So you can use the pen tool in a lot of ways, and I would just invert it if I wanted to cut the screen out, if I had some sensitive content on there. So the pen tool is really convenient. It's used in opacity on layers, but also to create shapes. I'm gonna get rid of that mask real quick. And moving on, we've got our hand tool. That will just allow us to move different things around. If we're zoomed in here on our program monitor, we can zoom in, and then we can drag around and different things like that. We can also move our timeline up and down. So that's really nice if you're switching between your selection tool and you're making an edit or moving something on the timeline, and then you can switch to your H tool, or your hand tool, sorry, and it's going to allow you to go up and down the timeline. Finally, we've got, of our tools section, we've got our type tool, and to do that, you just click type, and then it'll create a actual type layer or a text layer on your screen. You can type hello, and we've got a graphic here, and you can come in here into your effects controls, edit text, formatting, everything like that, appearance, and where it's located on the page with transform. Now, your transform layer will adjust where the actual text box is, but you also have your vector motion here, which will adjust it as well. So just be aware of what position or scaling you're using, whether it's the text scaling and position or the actual layer scaling and position. So that would be text. My big things when it comes into editing and using these shortcuts and everything is that shortcuts are the best way for you to move around the software and really optimize your workflow. So like I showed before, the R tool is what I use a lot. Say I'm doing a B-roll sequence and I'm bringing in this piece of footage, I'll just use R. I'll bring that in like we had that example earlier. Another thing that I'll do is I'll actually use the ripple delete tool. So I'm like, man, I don't like this clip. I've set it up on my keyboard as the keyboard shortcut X, and I'll just delete the clip just like that. Instead of pressing the delete key and then selecting the open space and pressing delete, it's one keyframe it's a selection and then the X key for me. And another interesting thing in keyboard shortcut that I use is this marker tool. So say I'm editing something on the beat and it's got a consistent beat, I can actually just play back the clip, and then I can press M, and it'll actually, if I'm doing it on the beat, I don't know what the beat is in this song, but you can just add markers on a consistent beat throughout your timeline, which is really nice. And it can help you select clips and everything like that. So that was the M key. Now back to the ripple delete key. I use keyboard shortcuts, and I set up a custom one for ripple delete so that I can actually select and press X. And that's been something I've done recently to really streamline my workflow, is to add in that keyboard shortcut. I just want to show you how to add in your own custom keyboard shortcuts. You can actually go up here into Premiere Pro and click on keyboard shortcuts. Right here, I'm going to get a listing of all my keyboard shortcuts. You can press Command or select Command here on the keyboard, and it'll show you extra ones that you might have. So we've got, remember that Command R was the speed duration window that popped up. And with Shift, you can see the different ones that you can do in different combinations. But I just type in right here, and I type in ripple delete. And I think when it comes up, it shows up as a combination keystroke. I would just select whatever shortcut is currently there. I'd remove it, and then I would select ripple delete here again, and then press X, or I double click here on the shortcut. Actually, that's how I do it. Double click here and press X. And then it shows up there. So again, click once, press X, there's your shortcut. And now I can go back into my timeline and use the X key to delete. So remember, all the tools right here in your panel. If you don't have that panel open or your workspace is all messed up, it's right here in your window. And use these and use the shortcuts and use your hotkeys and everything like that so that you can really speed up your workflow and make editing work for you.